January 7, 1943, early morning. The New York Times ran a small news item. Inventor Nikola Tesla passed away yesterday at the New Yorker Hotel on 7th Avenue in New York at the age of 86. There was no obituary, no funeral, no relatives present. There was only one room, the door nailed shut, the glass sealed with black cloth, and the floor was under martial law. A few hours later, a group of unidentified men entered the hotel quietly and took all the papers, equipment, and devices in the house. Their credentials read, U.S. Office of Asset Preservation, OAP. The project involves national security technology and is under the Department of Wartime Energy Control. Nikola Tesla was the creator of the modern alternating current, AC, electrical system, the pioneer of high-frequency resonance and radio waves, and one of the most enigmatic scientific geniuses. In his later years, he was virtually forgotten by the world, regarded as an eccentric recluse, or even a madman. But the strange thing is, why were the notes of a madman taken over by the military? It wasn't until decades later, when the FBI declassified some of the Tesla literature, that we learned that it wasn't just invention sketches that had been taken. Rather, they were conceptual systems. In the crevices of these decrypted pages, a recurring string of terms is gradually revealed. Free energy generator, longitudinal wave weapon, directed thought, frequency transmission, global resonance. These are not fantasies. Rather, they were systems that he had personally verified with formulas, experiments, and devices. They were, well, sealed by the real world. That's the mystery we're trying to unravel today. Who was stopping Tesla from inventing? Which of his theories were treated as dangerous ideas? In the locked hotel room, what has truly ended is not just a life, but a path to the future. In the mid to late 1930s, Tesla's world was long out of mainstream science. Edison was long dead, and Westinghouse Electric had commercialized his inventions. And yet he, an old man in his 70s, is still in and out of the lab alone every day, obsessed with a study that no one believes in, the controlled propagation of thought frequencies. According to his assistant, George Scherer, Tesla's last core notes in his later years were never made public. In his dictation, he repeatedly mentioned two words: the physicality of the mind. In a 1937 note, Tesla wrote, "The most powerful energy in the universe is not nuclear, not magnetic, not light. It is intention." He envisioned that if brain activity could resonate at a specific freak, is it possible to realize a non-verbal communication system, or even long-distance conscious manipulation? Humans will no longer rely on words. Ideas will be transmitted in waves. War, hatred, and faith. It's not science fiction. It's a technical will dictated by a scientist in his later years. The name of the technology appears only 3 times in his notes. Thought ray, which is traced in the U.S. National Security Archive as a potential principle for psychological weapons. It was also one of the early rationales for the famous MK-Ultra mind control program of the Cold War. We can't prove that the project took final shape, but we can prove it. Tesla was the earliest and most detailed designer of this thought control technology proposed. He is said to have built an extremely small receiver in hotel room 3327 that drew shockwaves from the ground, mimicking the frequency of human consciousness, was used to disrupt animal behavior, a maintenance worker recalled. "We saw the room covered with mirrors, coils, wires, but he told us, 'Don't go near that bed,' where he said he was listening to his heartbeat." Tesla named this theory mind amplification field, and believed that human consciousness could be captured, enhanced, and projected on the physical plane. Is this crazy? Or is this precisely the truth that we have always been afraid to touch? That the human mind is itself a weapon. A weapon that can be controlled, amplified, or reproduced by technological means. Potential threat level, high. Intervention recommendation, full lockdown. Weapons of thought, not for use in war. It is the authority that controls the beginning and end of the war. If you were in control of the power, would you allow it to be made public? In Chapter 3, we'll go into the scene of the investigation after that night. Where did all those notes really go? In the early morning, January 8, 1943, less than 12 hours after Tesla's death, a group of federal agents appeared in front of the door to room 3327 of the hotel. They did not inform his family. All they said was, "The items in the room pertain to national defense and need to be forwarded immediately to the War Production Board, WPB, with the OAP agency." This day is known as the day the Tesla legacy evaporates. According to FBI declassified file number HQ 204-191, a total of 3 boxes of documents and 7 pieces of metal instrumentation were removed, which was subsequently labeled classified top secret. However, from 1943 to the present, the contents of only 11 of these 43 boxes have ever been declassified on a limited basis. For the rest, the whereabouts are still unknown. In the database of the U.S. National Archives, there is a series of numbered passages of documents that have consistently been denied public access, and their note is clear: not released. A portion of Tesla's theories are still in use or under study by the military today. For 50 years, the U.S. government consistently insisted Tesla's notes were mostly repetitive sketches with invalid ideas. His later research was of no practical use, but in 2009, a batch of internal memos exposed by the Washington Post revealed that some of the contents of Tesla's notes were transferred to Los Alamos Laboratory as supporting information. Los Alamos, the centerpiece of the U.S. atomic bomb Manhattan Project. At the same time, another Cold War experiment surfaced, Project Rainbow, also known as the Philadelphia Experiment. The Philadelphia Experiment. The goal of the program: to make warships invisible for short periods of time by distorting space with strong electromagnetic fields. Several researchers have pointed out that some of the It begs the question, why are so-called useless notes in nuclear energy research and warship stealth technology? We also found an entry for TES-27B in a categorized directory titled Energy Control Technology ECS Dossier, with a note derived from Tesla's notes. Need to cross-validate high-energy wave particle interference boundaries. These documents are now stored in the National Department of Energy archives, not open for public. The prototype, which was called the Thought Shock Generator, has never been included or exhibited in any national museum. It has been said that Tesla's ideas were too far ahead of their time to be accepted, but it is more likely that his ideas were too dangerous to be publicized. His papers were not disappeared. Let's get into the legend of the backroom operation that led to the disappearance of Tesla's notes and the successors who mysteriously took them over. When Tesla died, his inventions were sealed. Instead of being given to folk, it falls into the hands of those who never existed on the stage. His name, John G. Trump, director of the High Voltage Laboratory at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, an expert in electronics. He was the chief technical advisor assigned by the federal.gov. He has been described by the FBI as the most suitable candidate for evaluation and has a specialized background in handling high-frequency energy and particle gas pedals. And his identity, which would later become even more controversial. He is the biological uncle of former US President Donald Trump. As later recalled from inside MIT, John Trump took some of the Tesla experimental equipment and deposited it in a federal facility not open to the public. 2 frequency control boards for earthquake simulation, and most notably, a metal box labeled Neural Disruptor Test Unit. In those days, a group of unknown research centers quietly appeared. Jonathan, a former engineer, recalls, "They called it mind field research, and we used a coil system that triggered cardiac imbalances and hallucinations in the subjects." The device he claims to have used is none other than a prototype resonator generator reconstructed from Tesla's notes. These projects are unnumbered, unfunded, and no public documentation exists. Part of the Montauk experiment is said to be a reconstruction of Tesla's unfinished thought ray model, manipulating time perception, thought projection interference, a consciousness, deflecting response to an open state of high-frequency energy channels. Although these types of claims have been officially denied, why can't you see a single photo of any of these prototype devices? Why do they never appear in the annals of science? Why is there not even a record of failure? Unless, of course, they never failed, only were successfully sealed. What Tesla wants is not a more powerful weapon, but a bridge that bypasses the machine and controls reality directly. Successors? Not always students of the inventor. They could be political, military, or even institutions we don't know about. But the real question isn't whether we've lost them. It's, where have they gone? 6 years before Tesla's death, he sent a simultaneous proposal to the governments of the United States, the Soviet Union, and Great Britain. "I have developed an energy weapon that can instantly destroy flying vehicles over hundreds of kilometers. No gunpowder, no rockets. Destruction is achieved by directional particle beam transmission, death ray." In 1955, the U.S. Air Force proposed Project Seesaw, a program to study high-frequency plasma shockwave technology. In the Soviet Union, the Energia Institute was established to try to reconfigure the linear induction weapon, All these principles were clearly stated in Tesla's sketches. One of them reads, "The particle beams don't rely on high explosive propulsion, but rather lend themselves to an atmospherically excited shock boundary layer, the real carrier, the shock field." In the 1960s, a draft of military engineering that has never been made public mentioned that low-frequency resonance interference can be used to fatigue structural metals without triggering an explosive. This mechanism does not preclude its use for defense purposes. But why have these devices never been shown to the public? Why have these studies never been published in academic papers? Why can't even find a single photo of their failed experiments? You know where they went. They didn't fail. They just got categorized into another world, a world that will never make it into Google Scholar search. He once said, "Give me a frequency, and I can shatter an entire building." Tesla is said to have secretly tested this shock box on the streets of New York, triggering micro-earthquakes in several buildings. He laughed as he turned off the machine and put it in his jacket pocket, saying, "This thing is too dangerous to leave in the lab." In 2020, the US Navy will publicly test a directed energy weapon for the first time. But it's a technology that Tesla put in his notes 87 years ago. Only back then, it was called a compressed frequency flow jamming gun. And they said, that's just a fantasy. But if one's fantasies are becoming reality, can it still be called fantasy? If these inventions had already existed quietly in our world, would have been rewritten by Tesla. He did not fail. He was simply relegated to a future. We will face head-on the question, who killed Tesla? And the even scarier, are we killing minds that think like his?